Welcome to LFN News, a production of LFN Media, bringing you the latest in celebrity news, with specific analysis to keep you in the know of what is going on around you. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. We also encourage you to share your comments in the comments section below and let us know what you think about the issue under discussion and any other issue you may want us to discuss in the future. The vendetta against R. Kelly and his supporters is nowhere near over. Even with R. Kelly sentenced to 30 years in prison, efforts to discredit all his supporters and associates are still on. R. Kelly's former manager, Donald Russell, was in October 2020 indicted on one count of interstate stalking, for allegedly contacting an anonymous victim in Kelly's case with the intent to harass and intimidate her and her family, according to the indictment filed in the Eastern District of New York. He pleaded not guilty to the charge. Russell was also charged by criminal complaint in the Southern District of New York, with threatening physical harm by interstate communication and conspiracy to threaten physical harm after Russell allegedly placed a phone call to a Manhattan theater to prevent the December 4, 2018 screening of Surviving R. Kelly. Donald Russell's trial began on Wednesday. He is accused of making a threat to the packed Manhattan theater in order to allegedly compel the cancellation of a documentary screening. According to federal prosecutors, the former manager allegedly made an active shooter threat against a Manhattan club that was going to show Lifetime's Surviving R. Kelly documentary series, because he thought it would harm his bottom line and contain allegations against the R&B star. For allegedly making the call, Russell is accused of making an interstate threat and a related conspiracy charge. If found guilty, he would spend 10 years in prison. Donald Russell allegedly made a terrifyingly brief phone call from his Chicago home to the theater in December 2018, in which he claimed that someone carrying a gun intended to open fire on the audience watching Lifetime's Surviving R. Kelly series, according to Assistant U.S. Attorney Laura Pomerantz. Pomerantz claimed that Russell made the threat because the docuseries might have hurt Kelly's reputation and lost him money as Kelly's manager. The call was short. The defendant was to the point. And he was terrifying. Someone at the event had a gun and was going to shoot up the place. Pomerantz told jurors in Manhattan Federal Court Wednesday. He knew his words would sabotage the event, she said. The emergency call to the police in response to the phone call forced them to order an evacuation, which led to the cancellation of the premiere and a live panel discussion with several of the women featured in the documentary that was meant to happen that day. In federal court in Manhattan, Pomerantz claimed, the defendant intended to keep the women silent. She went on to say that Russell was driven by a desire to safeguard the successful career of the multi-platinum selling, Grammy-winning songwriter. He wanted to keep these women quiet and he succeeded. His threat worked, Pomerantz said. The women did not speak that night. That was because the defendant picked up the phone and made that threat about an active shooter in a crowded New York City theater. He depended on R. Kelly continuing to perform and making money, the prosecutor said. On the other hand, defense attorney Michael Friedman told jurors that they would exonerate Russell if they take time to study the evidence. Russell's attorney Friedman encouraged jurors to focus on the evidence in the case, which he said was limited and could not prove his client's guilt. Friedman argued there were a lot of phone calls made to the theater on the day of the screening and jurors will have to decide what it all means and what, if anything, it proves about his client. Friedman said Russell did call the theater a number of times that night seeking to get the event cancelled, but claimed he did so merely because he believed the documentary series would violate copyright laws. He added that to the best of his knowledge, there was no recording of the phone threat, so jurors cannot hear the voice that made it. But he stressed the theater employee who received the threat call will testify that the individual's voice sounded different from Russell's. That person sounded aggressive, like he was outside and sounded like he was from Brooklyn, Friedman said. He'll tell you how at some point, he got a call from a different guy who sounded like he had a different voice, Friedman said. He said there was not enough evidence to prove Russell committed a crime. Pomerantz, though, said Russell demonstrated his guilt in part through his communications with a female co-conspirator who was at the theater at the time. She said Russell allegedly sent the woman a text to say the police may be coming to the theater shortly before they did. And then he later asked her to delete the text, though she allegedly never did, the prosecutor said. Pomerantz said phone records to be introduced as evidence will show that Russell called the theater 9 times on the day of the screening, pretending in one call to be a lawyer representing Kelly, as he contended that the screening would harm Kelly's name and brand. She said he also sent an email to Lifetime employees threatening a lawsuit if the event was not cancelled. The prosecutor said Russell tried every way he could to stop the event. In a separate Kelly-related case, a fan of the performer pleaded not guilty Wednesday in Brooklyn federal court to charges that he made threats against prosecutors in Kelly's trial. Court papers cite a video of defendant Christopher Gunn saying, "If Kells goes down, everybody's going down." Meanwhile, R. Kelly was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison in June after his conviction on 9 counts, including racketeering and violations of the Mann Act. His legal team has already filed a notice of appeal, which did not specifically state on what grounds Kelly intended to challenge the verdict, but they are confident they will be able to reason with the appeal jury. Kelly is however still facing related charges in Minnesota as well as federal charges in Illinois. His federal trial in Chicago is set to begin August 15th. Thank you for watching LFN News, a production of LFN Media, giving you another view of issues at hand. To get notified whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now and hit the notification icon. And remember to give us your comment on the subject matter below.